Nobody should have this much fun. Today, we're going to learn something that you're just never going to imagine you could do. Leslie Lambert, what are we going to do today?
We are going to paint in the most unusual way. Instead of painting with a brush, I am going to show you how to paint using poured watercolor. So you're going to pour the paint instead of painting it on.
We're going to pour a painting today.
Yes, we are. We're going to pour it. So I'm excited to show you.
I'm really excited about it. Let's get the show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
Hey, welcome to Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. We would love it if you'd hit the subscribe button. And if you like it, hit the like button. Make sure you comment, tell us where you're coming from, etc. I have been on, I've done this show now at least 2,500 or more times. And I have never experienced what we're about to experience. Nobody's ever said to me, we're going to pour a painting. Now, it seems a little odd to me, quite frankly, so I'm very curious about it. But let's look at Leslie's work because we can. So I don't know if these are poured works or not, but it's pretty phenomenal. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. Looks like a lot of Western flair. I wonder if this is poured. I mean, this is really interesting to me. This is definitely watercolor. Okay, Leslie, you ready? We're gonna challenge you to help us understand what pouring watercolor means.
Okay, and thank you for having me, Eric. And yes, those paintings are poured. And I use watercolor in an unusual way. I love to use it this way. But what I want to show you first is some techniques that I use with masking fluid. Now, in watercolor, we don't usually add white paint. We usually preserve the white of the paper. So masking fluid lets us do that without tiptoeing around everything with a tiny brush. So when you mask early, you get the freedom to let the water and color flow without worrying about losing those whites and lightest values. So like I said, I'm going to show you some masking tips that I've learned because I want to, we need to move quickly. And I think this is important to know how to do masking. Now, my favorite brand of masking fluid is Winsor & Newton. I've taught for many, many years, and I've seen just about every brand come through my classes. This one is the most consistent, the most reliable, and the easiest to find. And I love that I can buy it in a big bottle.
Are you getting paid to say that?
No, I'm not.
Just checking.
I wish I was, but I'm not. But because I do go through a lot of this.
So what happens on this program is if something gets mentioned, next thing you know, thousands of bottles. I mean, we had 18 million people watching this program. So thousands of bottles will fly off the shelves, and they're all of a sudden they're going to wonder, why is everybody buying our masking fluid?
Well, this is why, because I find it's my favorite. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. But what I usually do, because this is a big bottle, I pour it into a smaller container. This is an old film canister. I know they're kind of a dinosaur now, but this is an old film canister that I use. There's lots of reasons why I do that. The main reason is that I'm accident prone. And if I spill that big bottle of masking fluid everywhere, it's a huge mess to try to clean it up. So, but a couple of things about masking fluid is you do not want to shake it because it creates bubbles and clumps and it actually hardens quicker. And once you apply it, keep it away from sun and heat. That will make it bond to the paper, and you won't be happy with that because it makes it difficult to lift, okay? So I'll show you how most people apply masking fluid, and then I'll show you how I apply masking fluid. Okay. Most people use a brush. And when I do use a brush, I prefer one that's thinner, but most people will use a brush with soapy water to coat all the hairs.
Soapy water? Why soapy water?
Because the soap will coat the hairs of the brush and the masking fluid doesn't bond to the hairs as easily. Okay. I also prefer...
That way you don't ruin your brush?
Exactly. But I do not use my nice brush when I do this. I want to use an inexpensive brush. I usually go to the dollar store and just buy them like crazy, because even though you coat the hairs, sometimes the masking fluid will ruin your brush, and it's easier just to toss an old one than to toss your really nice brush that you paint with.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just show you, coat that. I'm going to just do a little image here, and you can get some really nice fine lines with the brush. Okay.
Yeah. Hard
And
to
then
see,
of course, yeah.
So you don't have to dry that brush before you put it in there?
No, I don't. But my favorite tool that I like to use is a ruling pen.
What?
And this is an, I'm sorry, what was that?
I don't even know what a ruling pen is.
It's an architectural drafting tool.
Really?
Architects no longer use it for ink, but watercolor artists use it with masking fluid.
Really?
So I like to use, I'm just going to do a little tree here, this, and I can get thinner lines with it. It's just like drawing. Instead of painting with watercolor, I will paint with mask to preserve my whites. Okay. Now, I have learned a couple other tricks over the years, because sometimes I teach classes where not everyone has a ruling pen, and sometimes I've forgotten or lost or misplaced my ruling pen. So I sometimes will use a straw like a ruling pen. So I'll cut it, and then I cut the end of it so it's like a scoop. I don't know if you can see that scoop there. And then I can use this very similar to a ruling pen.
So it's almost like they used to use they cut a quill, very similar.
Exactly, exactly. And if I want to get even finer lines, I will use a coffee stir, cut the end of it. I mean, I can get pretty fine lines with that straw, but sometimes if I need to do a dot somewhere that's really fine, I can do that.
I hear your dog barking.
Oh yes, I have two dogs, and they are not happy when I shut them out of the studio.
Yeah, we're close. We're very close to losing one of ours. Maybe today. It's really hard.
Oh, that breaks my heart. I'm so sorry.
Oh, so scary.
Oh, yeah, I've lost a few, and that's hard. Okay, I'm going to show you how I cover larger areas. So for instance, I'm going to just mask. What I do is I create a dam. If I want to mask a larger area, I'll create a dam with my ruling pen.
Meaning a really thick wall of masking fluid.
Exactly. That's exactly what that is. And then I will pour it in.
Really?
And use my finger.
Oh my.
It just goes by so much quicker, and I'm also not scratching the paper.
Ah.
Now, some people do not like to use their fingers because it can get sticky. So another tool you can use is a plastic palette knife.
Oh, wow. We're learning a lot today, guys.
Good. I am so glad.
So that masking fluid looks like it's got a slight yellow cast to it.
Yes, it does. And that's another thing I like about the Winsor & Newton. So you want to make sure it's not the permanent. You want just the art masking fluid. It does have that yellow tint, so I can see where I put it.
What is the permanent? What does that do?
I really don't know what it does, other than you can't get it up.
Okay.
I have not explored how to use it.
I won't go there.
Yeah.
Yes. Leslie, is a question from Karen.
Yes.
Is Leslie going to be on Watercolor Live?
Yes, I am. I'm going to be on.
And what else are you going to do?
I am going to be at 𝗶𝗶𝘁 in Missouri this coming year.
Plein air convention.
I'm so excited.
Ozarks. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, it will be amazing. I am so
It'll
thrilled.
be our biggest yet because everybody can drive. It's centrally located. When we did it in North Carolina, we had so many people who came from the east and from the Midwest and the South. Ozarks is very similar, not too much further away, and it's a simple drive from most of the country, not more than 2 days from anywhere in the country, but most days, it's most places in the country 1 day. So we're going to have a lot of people.
Oh, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. My husband's going to join me. He's so excited about it.
Hey, good.
Yeah. So, okay, let me show you a few more tools that I use with masking fluid. And I like to use, and I'm not getting paid, but I say Scotch-Brite because sometimes you get those, I want it real nubbly, like the Scotch-Brite sponge. You can use other brands, but you want to make sure it's nubbly. And when I say Scotch-Brite sponge, most people know what I'm talking about. So I am dipping this in, and I will create texture. Like I can create sand or dirt or bricks, but I can create texture with this.
Nice.
Instead of trying to paint all these little dots with my brush or my ruling pen, it goes by a lot quicker. And then finally, if I want to do stars or snow, I use a toothbrush. And I do coat my toothbrush with the soapy water because it's like a brush. And I'll dip it in and make sure I don't have too much on it or else I get really big globs. And I'll even tap it off on the side just to make sure I'm not getting those big globs. And then I take my finger and I rub my finger against it, and I get stars or snow.
You get the award for the most fun this week. This is so much fun.
It really is. Wait till we get to the pouring part. That's going to be exciting. So actually, we can pour right now. So what I'm going to do is move this aside because I have one that's already dry.
How long does it take to dry typically?
It depends on how much I put on. And I will suggest you put a little bit thicker on with your masking fluid. Don't dilute it with water, and do not put it on thin because it's harder to lift at the end if it's on thin.
Okay.
So this could take about 30 minutes to dry. And I usually work larger though, so that when I'm working larger, by the time I get to another area, the first area has dried. And then I go mix up my paint. And by that time, everything's dried and ready to go.
Okay, Leslie, Karen in the comments says, I hope the artists who do so much to prepare for these demos are thanked profusely because they do so much for us to help learn. And I'm amazed by today's presentation. So Leslie, I'm officially thanking you profusely.
Thank you. And I want to thank you profusely for having me on here.
Oh, are you kidding? You're a rock star.
Yeah, not quite.
Oh, yeah, you
okay.
are.
Oh, thanks. So I am now going to take some water. See, this is all dried. And I'm going to wet my paper.
You're not pouring water onto it yet. You're just wetting it.
I'm just wetting it. And, you know, when I do my big paintings, I've done 40 by 60. I actually take buckets or a hose and wet my paper.
Really?
Yes, it's so much fun.
Have a new,
and I'm going to grab
France. Hello, France. Hello, Germany. Hello, Netherlands.
Yes, hello. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Okay, so I use an under the bed box. This is a smaller one just so it would fit on the screen, but I use a bigger one to pour my paint into. So I'm going to I'm just going to use 2 colors for this. My red and my blue. And I've already mixed them up. If you want to know how I do that, you have to join me on Watercolor Live or at Pace.
Okay, good.
We have a limited time here. So I am letting them mix on the paper.
And you probably don't dare use your hairdryer to dry it because then you're going to have the masking fluid stick.
Exactly. And also it lightens the paint when you blow dry. So Yes, it does. So I like it to really soak into the paper. So I leave it to dry overnight. So usually this is my day. I start off in the morning masking because I do like to work larger. I'll mask and then in the afternoon I'll pour and I let it dry overnight. Okay, so we will move that aside and let it dry. And it does take a while.
You are so prepared.
I've taught a lot.
I'm
so
profusely.
I've taught a lot, so I kind of know what to do. Okay, so now this is dried. And I'm going to lift the masking fluid so you can see what it has done. And I actually did 2 pours on this one so that you could see that texture there. And
so you just, what are you doing? An eraser? What is that?
Yeah, so this is called a rubber cement pickup. Yeah. And I also call it my rubber sole because it's like the crepe sole of a shoe. Yeah. But I call it sole, S-O-U-L instead of S-O-L-E. Okay. So it's my rubber sole. And so I'm lifting. And then larger areas, I just pull up and away.
Oh, that's so satisfying.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. My kids used to fight over who got to do this.
Wow. I'm gonna tell my wife to watch this one because she loves to peel things.
Yeah, it's like peeling off the Elmer's glue from your hand when you were a kid, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I'm going to continue to lift, and of course my camera is probably shaking because my table is shaking while I do this. But you can see now there's 2 different layers down here with texture. Let me just bring it up closer so you can see that. So I did pour this twice.
Wow, and those stars look good.
Yeah, they look pretty good, don't they?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move that aside because I want to show you a couple of things. Now, one thing I wanted to show you on this episode, this live thing, is the difference between a wash and a pour. All right. So I am going to start off by showing you a wash, which most watercolor artists know how to do.
And that's already got masking on it.
Yeah, this has masking on it. And I'm going to just wash some colors across it. And then I let it dry. And then I'm going to show you how I use familiar watercolor techniques on this one with different washes versus the pour. So this, I'm just wetting with water. And I'm going to use a brush instead of pouring it. So you can see the difference because with the brush, you actually have more control, but with the pour, you have more glow. Okay, so here is, I'm going to start with some yellow.
Your paper.
Yeah, I wet all my paper, very wet. And then I'm going to start with some yellow. And let's brush some yellow onto it. Now, another thing with this is you can see that my pencil, I've drawn that out. So this is where my control really comes in with a pour, is with my pencil lines. But when I do a wash versus a pour, my wash actually will lift the pencil lines. A pour does not.
Wait, say that, repeat that.
So with a wash, I tend to lift my pencil lines more than I do with a pour.
In other words, because the brush is going over it.
Yes.
I see.
So I do tilt my board a little bit when I do washes just to let it mix. Let me grab some paper towels. And of course, wouldn't you know, today's the day that the mailman shows up to put something on my doorstep and the dogs are going wild over that.
Well, hopefully it's a Christmas present.
Hopefully, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. What do you want for Christmas, Leslie?
Well, I already got what I wanted for Christmas. I went to Zimbabwe and I got back 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And then my husband and I are going to Costa Rica for Christmas week.
Oh, that sounds like fun. What a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it is fun. Okay, so now I'm going to take some more of that red and I'm going to add blue to this as a wash.
As a wash. Okay.
Yeah. So with my brush. So there is more control, right? And I like to use a 𝗂𝗂𝗃 brush. You can use different brushes, but I use a 𝗂𝗂𝗃 brush for my pours because this brush does not scratch the paint. And I'll explain that more with my pour. Okay, so
I can see what you mean. The colors are definitely not as intense as you had before.
well, exactly. So, and you can see brush strokes, right? It won't flow as seamlessly as a pour will. And also by lifting that little bit of pencil, I feel like it dirties the color a bit. Okay, so that is a wash. I'm going to let it dry, and then after it dries, we'll come back. But I will move on to my pour. Let me just wipe that down. You don't want any puddles, so just let that come off a bit and wipe it down. Okay, I'm going to move up my camera just so you can see the pour better. There we go. Back to my under the bed box or my container. Okay, I've done the zebra again. So I did take this photo in Zimbabwe. It was fantastic. Just what an experience. We went on safari there. I took a group and we went on safari. And there was an evening where we were in the truck, and of course there's no windows or anything in the truck, and we were going through the forest, and all of a sudden we were surrounded by zebras, and it was sunset, so the light was filtering through all the leaves, and you look at them and it looked like unicorns, and it felt so magical.
Okay, what are we doing now?
Okay, now I'm going to pour, but I am taking, you can see how much more water I'm adding to this. I am using my brush again.
You would think more water would dilute it.
Yeah, well, it's actually so I don't mess up the pencil line. And then I do run it off. You can also spray it or pour water on it, but I want to make sure I get all the spots wet. Okay, so I already have my colors mixed up, and I am going to, and I've masked out my whites. Okay, those are my whites, and I am going to pour. So this is very similar to the wash, but I'm not touching the paper with a brush.
And when
Only
you're
when I
live, you're going to tell us how you do all your mix-ups and how do you get that intense color.
Yes. Yes, I am. And at pace. So now I let this color mix on the paper. I do have a spray bottle for a few spots. What is so much fun about this is that you can't control it. It's just like letting it watercolor do what it wants to do.
Question, can a secondary liquid mask go over a dry colored underpainting to mask colors instead of just the white of the paper?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's what I do.
Wow.
I will show you that next.
That's a very insightful question there, 𝗣𝗃𝗃.
Yes, it was insightful. Thank you for that question, because you have already told everyone what I'm going to do next. Okay. So I think that's great. Okay, now I'm going to pour again. I don't like pouring all three colors at the same time. And I really only use 3 to 4 colors. Sometimes I'll use up to 5, but
Well,
I
otherwise
find,
create mud.
yes, exactly. But, and I don't want to create that mud.
Well, and you're also probably keeping in mind, like the left side of the giraffes or what is it, a zebra's face is going to be in light. So you probably put some dark over there so the contrast is higher. No?
Oh, you'll see. Yeah,
No?
so sometimes I do. It depends. I actually feel like the light's coming here, so I want that look of the light coming over. So I will leave the background lighter than the dark here. So this will be darker, the black stripes. And of course, I have the white stripes where the light is. Okay, I want to make sure this runs off or else I get blooms. And I don't want that. And I will pay attention to how it runs so it doesn't create mud, because if you do get all 3 colors going together, you can get mud.
Okay.
So another thing I like to do, I'm almost out of red here, so I'll have to mix up more red for the next one, is I like to put warm colors where I want the viewer to look and cool colors around the edges.
Oh,
You see me using my fingers.
So the idea is cool colors will, why
recede.
cool colors in the edges? Make it recede?
Yep, make it recede.
Oh.
So that I'm trying to trick the viewer to look at my focal point.
Okay. Well, I know a little bit about painting corners and having alternate corners, one light, one dark, which you've done at the top here, but I've never heard about putting cools in the corners. That's a great concept.
Yeah. And, you know, really, as artists, we want to be like magicians, where we direct the viewer's eye to what we want them to see. Okay, so I'm just making sure I wipe that all up, and then I'm going to leave that to dry. Now, I am going to mix up some more color because I've already poured twice on this.
All right.
And I have,
Leslie, this
yes,
would be a good time for us to take a quick break, and then we're going to be right back.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. You can mix up some color. All right. Leslie Lambert is our guest today, and we're pouring a painting. This is really good. I've never seen this before. It's amazing to me. I've done this show 2,500 times, and every single day, I learn something new. Every artist has something they do that nobody else does, or a different way to approach it. So this has really been valuable. This is really good. She's going to be back in a second. I want to play you something that has everything to do with the harsh winter that we're about to have. Let's do that now.
Every February, it happens. Gray skies, the freezing winds, blowing snow, the endless shoveling, power outages, and closed airports. Winter doesn't just chill your bones, it drains your inspiration. But what if instead of scraping ice, you were setting up your easel under the warm sun? What if instead of gray, you were surrounded by color? This February, join us for Eric Rhoads' second Winter Art Escapes Artist Retreat for a week of painting in the sunshine of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. Paint the breathtaking coastal marshes, the roaring ocean, historic Victorian homes and town squares, trees dripping with Spanish moss and golden sunsets. With every detail handled, your room, your meals, your painting agenda, all you have to do is show up, paint, and connect. You deserve a solid week of painting and making friends. Spots are limited to just 100 artists, and they're filling fast. Don't spend another February stuck indoors. Escape winter. Recharge. Paint with us at Winter Art Escape.
And we're going to be staying on the ocean. You're going to be able to put your feet in the sand while everybody else is putting their snow boots on. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I lied. I'm a big, fat, stinking liar. I am so sorry. Yesterday, I told you there were 20 seats left, but little did I know there are only 14 seats left. So get in there and get that done. All right, our guest today is Leslie Lambert. Leslie, let's get
Hello.
Hello.
I mixed up some color while you were playing that. That sounds amazing. That would be a fun trip.
Well, you could drop Costa Rica and then come to this.
I don't think my husband would appreciate that. I need a break. Besides, I've been working way too hard. Although Zimbabwe was phenomenal. Okay, so with this one, I've already masked. I've poured it twice and I've masked twice. So this will be my third pour. And the only reason why I'm not showing you every step is so that you will join me at Watercolor Live and Pace, but also we have limited time. And the biggest thing that you have to remember and what you will struggle with when you do this is to be patient and let things dry. So you just have to walk away and let it dry. And that's what takes the longest, is the drying time. Okay, so I also masked out the back. Remember how I showed you that I masked out that larger area?
Yeah.
This is how I did that. I created that dam going around the zebra, and then I poured it and used my finger to move it around.
All right.
Okay, so now I'm going to take my brush again, and I'm just wetting where the exposed paper is. And I do let the excess come off, but I like to let the water really soak into the fibers of the paper. And it is best to have that 100% cotton paper when you do this. So,
What do you do with all the runoff? Do you just throw it away?
actually, I use it in squirt bottles. I put it in squirt bottles and I create waves with it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's fun. That's the most important thing about painting, is to
You're
have
like-
fun.
You're just like a giant kid.
Oh, no kidding. I love what I do.
Obviously.
Okay, so I poured the yellow, and I pretty much poured it where I had it before. And now I'm going to pour some red. And my colors are a little bit darker so that I get that darker color into the zebra here, because I'm working with values when I do this.
Question, did you mention what the weight of the paper is?
You know, it is only 140 pounds. It's cold
Okay.
press. You will notice I have taped it all the way around. I used to stretch my paper, but I discovered when I use thicker tape, I don't need to. I just have to make sure that I wet it enough at the beginning to get that sizing out. Okay, let's grab a paper towel.
You must have done like 10 drawings in preparation for this. You spent hours preparing. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. You know, I kind of thought of it like Andy Warhol, where he has all those Marilyns. Instead of all the Marilyns, I have all the zebras.
Yeah. No, you can actually now you can sell them as a series. You
Exactly.
can mat them in one big side-by-side mat.
Exactly. That's what I'll do. No, that's a great idea. Okay, so now I'm going to, I did the orange. You can see how vibrant that color is, but I want some blue in it or some purple. So I'm going to pour my red. Let's get a little bit up there. Then I'm going to take my blue.
Leslie Warhol, somebody says.
This is similar also to, excuse me, Mark Rothko, where you see his painting where he builds layers of color and they just glow. So this is similar, where you just build layers of color and you let it glow. And I do use my fingers sometimes. Let's get some more blue over here. And notice I don't pour a whole lot. I only pour a little bit because I don't need a lot across my surface. I want to grab some red and let's put it there. Okay. And I'm going to wipe this down. I have little hairs that I masked out right there that I want to make sure that paint gets into. So that's why I will use my fingers. And, you know, I can't ever get manicures because I'm always covered in paint. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to put this away. Now that's we're done with pouring for today, but I will show you what it looks like. I am going to come back to this one. This was the wash, and it's a little bit damp. So do you mind if I just hit it with a blow dryer real quick?
I'll tell you what, while you're doing the blow dryer, I'm going to just drop off real quickly. Go ahead for it. All right. So I'll just mention that while she's blow drying, that we have Watercolor Live coming up. Leslie's going to be teaching on Essentials Day, which is the first day. And there's 4 more days after that. Let's play that promo real quickly. All right, we're learning to pour paint. And this is so amazing. Leslie is so prepared. Leslie Lambert is our guest. Leslie, what are we going to do next?
Okay, so I am just going to show you a traditional way of applying watercolor, which is with the brush. I'm going to do a couple washes, and then I'm going to show you the difference between what happens with a pour and a traditionally painted watercolor. And I am, you know, there's several different types of washes. We did a wet paper wash to begin with, and now I can do a beaded wash, which is where you have your board at a tilt and you're going to use gravity. So let's say this one right here. I've mixed up my color and I am going to just do an even wash. Now, I don't find this as exciting, but this is what a lot of watercolorists do enjoy painting with. And it's a good way to get a nice even color. Okay, so I'm not going to show you all of them, but I just wanted to show you that's one way to get a nice even color. I prefer wet and wet. So when I paint with a brush, let's do like this one right here. What I do is I am going to wet this stripe with some water. And sometimes I add a little bit of color into it just so I see where I have put that water. And I prefer wet and wet because it's very similar to how watercolor pours work. But you have more control when you paint this way than versus pouring. So as I said, brushwork is more about control. Okay, now that I've wet it, I'm going to drop in the color. You can also get softer edges when you just paint with a brush. But there is ways to deal with the hard edge of masking fluid. But I also like to use the fact that it creates hard edges, the masking fluid, to my advantage. Okay, now that I've put in that red, I'm going to grab some of my blue. And I'm using Winsor blue, by the way. And again, I'm letting the color mix on the paper. To me, it's more visually exciting. Okay, so let's do another one like this one right here. So it's not as scary as pouring, but it's also not as fun. Okay, I lied there. I still enjoy painting this way. I love what I do. I love being an artist. So put in the color, and then I'm going to grab my rose. And I'm trying to use the same 3 colors that I used in a pour so you can see the difference. Sometimes I'll build up wet and wet. So I do teach not just pouring, but I teach regular painting, especially to beginners that find that pouring might be a little bit overwhelming. Okay. And let's just drop in some more color there. So with wet and wet, you wet the paper and then you add the color, but you can also add thicker color to make it flow less. Thinner color will have it flow more. You can see me tapping off my brush over here when I have excess paint in my brush. So now you see the difference between the even color and the wet and wet, how I can vary that here and make it more visually exciting. We can also do this right here. I'm going to show you wet and wet on the nose. And you think, okay, it's a black nose. How do I do that so it's not so black? And yes, I love color too. I'm going to grab some yellow actually, because I have yellow coming from over there. Grab some yellow. And then I'm going to take some rose. So very similar to my pouring where I add the 2 colors and then I'll add the 3rd one later. And now I'm going to grab some of that blue, and I like to let it mix on the paper. And here I am, just letting it mix a little bit. I'm helping it along with my brush. And then I can also use my brush to lift. So you do get a softer effect when you use a brush. But as I said, it's, you know, it is more about that control. I find that painting with a brush actually takes more time for me than pouring. You would think that pouring would take a long time with the masking, but it doesn't. And like I said previously, the most amount of time you'll spend on a pour is waiting for things to dry. So there's that. Now I'm not going to show you any more as far as washes go. You get the idea. Beaded wash, wet and wet, and this was a wet paper wash. What I want to show you is the finished products. So I'm going to grab those. I did them already.
I'm so
And I want
excited.
I want to show you. This is the painted version. So I did use a brush with this, and I got softer edges, and you know, it still used the same 3 colors that I wanted, that I used with the pour, only using it with a brush. I don't know if you can see this, but you can actually see brush strokes. Even with the wet and wet, there's more brush strokes. Okay, now this is the pour.
And that was all done with masking.
This was all done with masking fluid. It was done with poured paint. And then I lifted it, and you can see the hard lines. There are ways to get
they're both wonderful, but the one just has so much more of a dynamic energy to it.
It does, doesn't it? It just glows. Whereas this one doesn't seem to have the same glow, because when you use the brush, you actually sometimes might lift what's underneath. Even when you use staining colors, you know, you get those brush strokes sometimes, or it puddling in different ways than you would with a pour, whereas that glow really comes through with the pour. So like I said, washes, the different washes are about control, and pours are about glow. And I really like how dynamic the glow is in a poured watercolor. And I create, like, this is what I mostly create for my work, is the poured watercolor. I do landscapes, I do animals, you know, I just love the process, and I love the finished product.
What is the what is a question from the audience? What kind of board is your poured painting taped to?
Oh, this is just that plastic, that corrugated plastic.
Oh, okay. And then do you use just regular masking tape or some kind of a special tape?
It's just regular masking tape. I do paint every day though, so I don't leave the masking tape on very long. I used to buy Staples brand because that was my favorite, but now I don't live near a Staples. So I just buy regular masking tape, and it seems to work. I don't like colored masking tape either because it does trick the eye. But regular masking tape works really well. Actually, this is a Staples brand, but I just use thick regular
Well, everybody
masking
will be
tape.
going online now and buying Staples brand. Okay, you use a thick one too. I see.
Yeah, I use that. So,
Well,
and
once
when
you
I
get that on camera, this has been remarkable. Before you do that,
Yeah.
hold up each of those to the camera. Hold them a little closer up, little right there. Okay, now you guys can see the difference. They're both wonderful. One just has a whole different feel to it. Really,
Yeah.
really lovely. And that zebra had no idea that she was going to be painted so many times when she came up to your car.
Nope, she did not.
Back on camera.
Okay.
All right. Our guest today is Leslie Lambert. We've learned about pouring watercolor, and what an amazing result. You are such a good teacher and such a rock star painter. We're excited to have you on Watercolor Live coming up, and excited to have you live on stage at the plein air convention, where we have our own watercolor stage. And this year we also have a pre-convention workshop that you can study with the great Thomas W. Schaller. We also have other ones, but for watercolor people. You are wonderful, Leslie.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh man, we're going to have you back. We want to see what else you've got up your sleeve.
Oh yeah. I've been teaching for a long time, and I teach at the College of Southern Idaho. So I love to teach. I love to paint. I'm living the best life.
Okay, now here's what we're going to do, because now we understand the poured. I'm going to ask my producer to bring up those images that we showed at the top of the show, because we're going to look at them differently now that we realize those were entirely poured.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So you get almost like a posterized effect when you're trying to create that sense of form, because you're doing masking tape on top and layers on top of layers, and that's really amazing stuff.
Yes, it's similar to woodblock print, even, the way you do that. So it's pretty
Very
cool.
exciting. Well, thank you, Leslie, and Merry Christmas. Hope you have a terrific holiday time and New Year, and we're absolutely thrilled you were on today.
Well, thank you for having me, Eric, and I look forward to Watercolor Live and 𝗍𝗄𝗄.
Okay, we'll see you there.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, man, that was awesome. That was terrific. Wow. We've just been knocking it out of the park with incredible guests. You guys, thank you so much for that. Okay, if you're not a subscriber, if you're new to us here today, we're here every weekday at 12 noon. And just go to YouTube and subscribe there. A lot of you are watching on other platforms, but you need to go to YouTube, look up Art School Live, and hit the subscribe button. So at least you're getting notification in case you don't find us elsewhere. And then you can go back. If you watch any 5 shows where we're teaching, and you'll find watercolor, you'll find oil painting, you'll find gouache painting, you'll find pastel, whatever it is you want to learn. If you want to learn to paint, you can do this. You don't need to have natural talent. You need to learn a process. If you watch any 5 of our programs, you will get the confidence that you need to be able to get yourself painting. And that's the goal here. We've taught millions of people to paint, and we're trying to teach millions more, because we think that the world is a better place when you're happy and you're painting and you know it, and you're happy and you're painting and you know it. Okay. All right, guys. We have a free gift for you today also, by the way. We have a book on watercolor mastery. Just go to AmericanWatercolor.net and ebook. All right. And while you're there, subscribe to American Watercolor. It's free. It's a great newsletter. All right, guys. Thanks again. Have a really terrific day. Bye-bye. Thank you, Leslie.